Hello, welcome back to the Nook. I'm Daniel, and today I'll be reviewing this book, The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis, the official first book in the Chronicles of Narnia. And I will just mention this is the first book chronologically. It says on the spine 1. However, it's not the first book C.S. Lewis wrote in Narnia. C.S. Lewis first wrote The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. But I suggest for anyone getting into the series or reading it for the first time, start with Magician's Nephew, and you'll see why when I review it, because it kind of pertains to some history. So before I get into the review, I'll just read the quick description on the back, just to kind of give you an overview of what this book's about. It says, Narnia, where talking beasts walk, where a witch waits, where a new world is about to be born. On a daring quest to save a life, two friends are hurtled into another world where an evil sorceress seeks to enslave them. But then the lion Aslan's song weaves itself into the fabric of a new land, a land that will be known as Narnia. And in Narnia, all things are possible. So, yeah, this is the book where this is before the magical land of Narnia kind of comes into existence. And this is very much heavily a Christian series where you have a Christ-like figure that shows up. But it's the kind of fantasy that's also it's the kind of fantasy that's known as portal fantasy, where you start in the real world. In this case, they're in England, and they come to a magical land. And there's always sort of a certain way, in the Narnia books, there's always a certain way they get to Narnia, and it's kind of different each time. So in The Magician's Nephew, there's a young boy named Diggory, and he meets a girl named Polly while he's staying in this one manor. And Diggory is going through a lot right now because his mom is quite sick and they're not able to heal her. And he ends up befriending Polly, and they kind of have some adventures. And it's called The Magician's Nephew because Diggory has an uncle named Andrew. And Andrew's been kind of dabbling in magic. And Diggory and Polly end up kind of getting involved in this experiment that Andrew makes them do, where they have these magic rings. And the rings will teleport you to another world. There's green rings and yellow rings, one for going there and one for going back. And Uncle Andrew used the rings on guinea pigs. And Uncle Andrew is not a good person in the story. He's very selfish. He just wants his own gain. And basically, I'm not going to get into spoilers with this book, but I can get into the basic storyline is that Diggory and Polly end up going to this world within using the rings, where it's like this kind of forest and there's these pools, and the pools are kind of like portals. So you go into one portal wearing the rings, you'll end up in another world. And I could basically give the basic story. This isn't really a spoiler, but the great evil that comes into Narnia is because of Diggory, because they go to a world where they meet, there's sort of a room with a bell and a hammer. And there's kind of a poem that talks about the bell and the hammer. Basically, either you don't hit the bell because that could cause a problem, or you wonder what's going to happen if you hit the bell with the hammer, and if you're going to go crazy wondering. And Diggory decides he doesn't want to go crazy wondering about the bell, so he hits it, and it wakes up a witch. This is, of course, in another world. There's all these people that are statues, and one of them is this witch, this giant. They don't know she's a witch, but she kind of comes in later, and you'll see with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, she is the White Witch from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but she's Jadis in this book. And she gets woken up, and there's some humorous stuff where she ends up in their world, and basically she's causing a lot of problems, hurting people and wrecking the city. And Uncle Andrew gets pulled into it. Uncle Andrew sees her as this beautiful woman that he wants to charm, but she's a lot stronger than him. And in the midst of all that, Narnia ends up being created. It's actually Aslan, this lion. They don't know his name's Aslan at the time, but this lion, he sings Narnia into existence. And there's all these animals, and Aslan breathes on them. They become talking animals. And there's kind of this adventure, and they kind of have to deal with what's going on with the witch being in the world. And the whole thing is basically Diggory wants to talk to Aslan about getting fruit from Narnia to take home to his mom so she could be healed. So that's very much just the bare bones of what the book's about. And how do I feel about it compared to the other 6 Narnia books? It's a 7-book series. I think this is one of the best Narnia books. The stuff with the rings and the pools is really cool. I just like the creation of Narnia, I think is really neat, and there's some jokes with the animals. Uncle Andrew is a very interesting character. He's kind of funny, he's goofy, and even though he's pretty selfish, you end up kind of feeling for him in the end. Um, yeah, I mean, I read these books when I was a kid. I think I started with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. A couple years ago, for my birthday, I got a box set. That's where this book came in. And I reread Narnia every spring. It's just kind of a nice spring reread. I'll read all 7 books back to back. And so for this channel, I will be reviewing every single Narnia book. It was, I think back in April, I did the reread. So I will chronologically review each book and keep it as about spoiler free as this was. This one, there were some spoilers, but it wasn't heavy. I didn't get too heavy into the spoilers. But that's what's going to be. And honestly, it's a great book. Reading it again was great. I love just the humor of it, the adventure. It's not fantasy the way Tolkien wrote fantasy. You know, Tolkien wrote very epic battles. Narnia does have some epic battles in later books, but it's much more whimsical and fun and magical and just a brilliant story. So all in all, I think The Magician's Nephew is a great entry. I think it's the best book to read first. If you're going to read the series, start with The Magician's Nephew, and please leave a comment what you think if you've read Narnia, what you think of Narnia, if you're rereading it, and all that. And that's basically my review of The Magician's Nephew. So please remember to like and subscribe, and remember, you're always welcome at the Nook. Bye.